Hello everyone, welcome to Alteryx tutorials. In this video we are going to talk about two very important tools of the transform tab. These are the running total tool and the summarize tool. So first of all, let's start with the running total tool. This tool is present in the transform tab in Alteryx and it is used to calculate a cumulative sum on a numeric field per record in a file. It can also be used to create sums of groups of records and calculate the cumulative sums of multiple fields at the record or even at the group level. So let us understand the usage of this running total tool with the help of an example, right? So let me just first get my data using this input data tool, which is present in the in-out tab. Now let's just click on this drop down and get our Excel sheet, which is the consumer sheet. Click on OK. Now let's just grab this running total tool and bring it over here. Here we have two options that are present in this running total tool. In the configuration panel, that is the group by field, which is again optional. And the second option is the create running total field. So it helps us to create the numeric fields to create a running total, basically to select the fields through which we want to create a running total. In your database, there might be different kinds of fields like the textual fields, the date fields, or spatial object fields, but the running total tool will automatically fetch out the numerical fields and would give you only those fields on which it is applicable, right? So these are all the numeric fields that are present in my data set. That's why it's showing the list of all of them, right? Now, what you want is you can just select the fields of whose running total you want. The new columns would be created and they would be added with a run total underscore prefix to show that this was the original record and this is the total that has been calculated by this particular tool. So let's just see how it is going to work. I want the total of sales, quantity, discount and profit. These are the four values whose total I want. Next, what I can do is I can click on run and wait for a few seconds till it has finished running. This is how it's looking. If I just click on this output tab over here or using this anchor, then I would be getting these four columns: running total underscore sales, quantity, discount and profit. This means that this is the total values that have been calculated by this particular tool. If you go to the very last record, you would be of course getting the highest value or the total value of the sales, quantity, discount and profit. If you take a look on the profit values, then there is a point where these values are in negatives, which means I'm not getting a total profit. I am getting some of the loss from my sales. But slowly, if you see, the values have again converted them into the positives. That means the total value is a profit or a loss. That would be I getting for the last record. So this is how the running total tool works. It is actually used to give you a summary of the numeric fields that I've been working on. Next we have is the summarize tool. Now this is a really important tool in Alteryx and we are going to use it often whenever we are developing the workflows. So let us understand its working. First of all, it is used to perform the various actions, which could be the functions or the calculations on the data. It can return the sum of the column for the data, which is basically calculated by adding all the rows in the column. It can return the minimum or the maximum value in the column. It can count the number of rows. It can group the column of a data by identical values. It can concatenate the string values. It can perform a variety of mathematical calculations and even perform spatial object processing. Now, these are a variety of steps that are really important whenever we are working with a workflow, right? So let's just see some of the actions one by one to understand it. Let me just grab my summarize tool and connect my database. The database here I'm using is the Excel sheet for the consumer segment. Okay. Now here we have two things, the fields and the actions. The fields is basically the data fields that has been taken from the input data set along with its data type. Okay. Now what we can do is we can just select some of the fields, and if you want to select multiple fields, you can just shift and click on them. like this. Okay, or what you can do is control click them to select multiple fields. Then we have is a select option, which has different options like all, which means it would select all the fields. None, it would deselect all the fields. Numeric, it would select only the fields with the numeric data type. String would select only the string fields, and spatial would select only the fields with the spatial data types, right? So these are the kinds of the options that we could perform. Let me just select the numeric fields. So you can see the row ID, sales, quantity, discount and profit have been selected. Next, what we need to do is, once you have selected the fields, we come to this add option. So this add option is actually used to just search for the action that we need to perform. You just click on it. Here are the different options that could be performed. We can find the minimum value, the maximum value, the sum, count, count non-null, count distinct non-null, count null, group by, first, last, and these are the number of the functions that could be applied, like numeric functions, string functions, spatial functions, behavioral analysis, and the report functions. Okay, so if we just go to the numeric functions, here is the number of the functions that could be applied, like average, percentile, median, and mode. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to select none, and I'm going to show you the different functions that could be applied for each of the data types, that is double, string, and we don't have spatial data, so let me just go with numeric and the string values only. Okay, so first of all, let's just select these 4. I'm ignoring the row ID because that's no need for that. Next, what we can do is just go to these numeric fields and here select the percentile. Now in the action field, we have the fields, the actions that could be performed, and what would be the name of the output field. If you want to change the name of the output field, that you can do. If you want to change the action, that also you can do. For example, in the case of sales, I want the max value. In the case of quantity, I want the percentile. In the case of discount, I want percentile. In the quantity, again I want the minimum value, and in the case of profit, I want the sum. Okay, so these are the 4 different actions that I want to perform on the different fields. And once you have selected all of these things, you can just simply click on run and wait for a few seconds. Let's just go to the output. So it is giving me the maximum value of the sales. The minimum quantity that was purchased was 1. The percentile discount is 0.2%, and the total sum of the profit that I have taken is this much of the profit. Okay. Now the names of the columns have been named accordingly, which means you can understand that what is going on in these, right? So this is for the numeric values. Let me just copy this, create a new workflow to show some of the functions for the string values as well. Okay, here I can just paste them, and for this tool I'm just going to make the changes by selecting the string values. And what are the things that I could add is count null, count not null. So let me just go with a count. If you want to delete any of these actions, you can just simply select that action and click on minus. Select that action, click on minus. Okay, so this is what I'm going to go with, that is the count. In the case of category, I want count distinct. In the case of category subcategory also, I want to count distinct. In the case of segment, I want count non-null. In the case of country, I want count null, and so on. Okay, I have created a bunch of different actions. In the case of customer ID, I want the longest. Okay, now once I have selected all these operations, I can click on run. So it's going to take a few seconds, and let us just go to this output to select the to just see the values. So first of all is count, that would give me the count of order ID. Next is count 2, that is giving me the count of the ship mode, which is actually the total number of the records. Next is the longest customer ID, then the customer name, customer segment, then count of the null in the country is 0, that means there are no null values, right? Similarly, for the count distinct category, there are 3 distinct categories, that's why it's giving me the result as 3. Similarly, in the case of subcategory, it is counting it as 17, that are 17 distinct subcategories are present. And finally, we have the count of the product name. So there are 5,191 products that are available. That means Everyone has purchased some products. So this is how the summarize tool works in the transform tab. That's all for this video. That's all for the tools for the transform tab, and thanks for watching.